Alright, so now that we get the fundamentals of CSS down, I'd like to take it a step further and actually build a homepage for the site that we've been working on, the Blue Developer Directory. If you recall, in the past chapter we built a table and we built a contact form that were related to this particular website. This is obviously a fictional company, and the design isn't the best, but I think it's clean, and I think it actually implements everything that we've been talking about to this point, and we're also going to be adding to it, we're going to be adding new features to it as we go along. So first things first, go to your project files, chapter 2, and we're going to go to section 2, project files, and here you'll see we have the done version and we have the parts version. What you're looking at here on the right is the done version, obviously, and in the parts you'll see you might have another file here, but you'll see here I have a no divs and a page outline. What I want to do is open up the no divs HTML, and what this is this exact web page. It's the exact content that's on this page without any styling, without any div tags or CSS. And we can see this. Actually, what I want to do is copy it. I want to copy it all, and then I want to open a new document and paste it in. I'm going to do just what we've been doing. I'm going to save this, and I'm going to save this in, I'm actually going to save this in a folder on my desktop, Blue Developer. You can save it in the project files, or you can create a new folder like I'm doing here. And I'm just going to name this index.html. And if you're using Notepad, you want to make sure that you save it as an HTML file and not a text file. And you'll see if you're using Notepad++, you'll see that and you name it an HTML file, you'll see the colors change, to go along with the HTML coding. So now I want to open up that file. And I want to open it in Chrome. So you can use Chrome, Firefox, whatever your preference. And you'll see here this this doesn't look very good, but it is actually the same exact content as this. Exact. The only difference is there's no div tags or span tags, and there's no styling applied to it. This is the base HTML page. This is what this page looks like if you're viewing HTML only. Alright, so what I want to do now is go back into Notepad, and I want to start making this. In past sections, what I've done was either inline styling, which would be adding div tags and putting all the style into the markup, or I did style in the head tag, where I'd have I'd have the style, and then I do all the CSS selectors and so forth in there. But we're not going to do that. That's not the best practice. It's not the best way to implement CSS. What we want to do is create a new file, a new CSS file, and link that to this HTML document. So what I'm going to do is, I'm in my home directory. I'm building the site in this Blue Developer folder, and we have our index that we just created. It's an empty. There's no div, there's no CSS, it's just straight content. So now what I want to do is I want to create the CSS file. And I don't want to put it right here in the root of the directory. What I want to do is create a new folder and call that CSS. Now in here is where we'll have all our style sheets. So what I'm going to do is I want to create a new CSS file, and this process could be different depending on which editor you're using. If you're using Notepad, you want to get a new file, and then you want to save as. We want to save it in the CSS directory that we just created, and we want to save it as a cascading style sheet, and we're going to call it style. So the file is going to be called style.css. Alright, so now you'll see we have our index, we have a CSS folder with the style.css file. Now, as it sits now, they're just files in the same directory. We want to connect them, we want to link them, And I showed you how to do this in the past slideshow, the presentation that I just did. What we want to do is go into the HTML document, and in the head tag we want to link the file, the CSS file. So we want to use link, and then we want to use the rel attribute, and that's going to be style sheet. Now there's two more things we have to do. We have to add the link to the CSS file, so we want to do href, and remember we put it in the CSS folder, so we want to make sure we have that, and it was named style.css. And the last thing we want to do is add a type, and we're going to say text/CSS. Alright, so that should link that CSS file to this HTML document, which is this here. Alright, so I'm going to save this, and if you reload, you're not going to see any difference because we haven't done anything yet. But just to test it out, I'm going to go into the style.css, and I'm going to add a body. For the body, I'm going to say I want the background black. And this is just a test. I'm going to save it, reload, and now you'll see the background's black. So we know that the two files are connected. Get rid of that. So the first thing we're going to look at is the body. We're going to look at styling the body, and which is the whole window, the entire window. You'll see there's a gradient background, and that's not a CSS effect. That's actually an image. And what we did is take a small, thin gradient image, and we repeated it to go horizontally to make it look like it's one large image. If you were to use one large image like this, it would be the size would be very large, and the site would slow down, and it's just not a good thing to do. So what we want to do is just get the image and repeat it. So what I want you to do is to go to your project files, section 2, project files, go to the done folder, and in the images folder you'll see an image called background.png, and if I show you that, I'll show you that, and this is the image. It's a 1 pixel wide. The gradient is all there, it's just so thin that you can't see it, but like I said, if we repeat it you'll be able to see it. So grab that, copy that, and go back. We're going to go back into where we're building the site, and we actually want to create an images folder. So go to new folder, name that images, and that's where we'll keep all the images for this site and this template, and then paste that background there. Alright, so now it's there. Now it's ready to be, we can add it to our CSS. So I'll go back to Notepad. Yeah, actually, before we do that, I want to add some core styles to the body. The body is the highest occurrence of any element, so whatever we put here will be the default. Like if we put the color black, that'll be the default color for everything else. It'll inherit that color. So I actually want to I want a margin 0, and I want a padding 0. I just like to margin that out and just flatten that out. And then after that, I like to do a text align left, just to make sure everything's aligned to the left. And we want to do font size, and I'm going to say 13 pixels. And font family. Now if you don't have a font family selector, what it will do is most browsers will use New Times Roman or Times New Roman, and I prefer to use Arial. I think Arial is really clean and easy to read, so we're going to do Arial. And you usually want to put 3 in case the browser doesn't have Arial, so in that case it'll look for Helvetica, and then if it doesn't have that, it'll use a sans serif font. I'm sorry, I think it's 1R enough. And that's I think that's. Oh, we want to do the color. We're going to give it a color of black. Hexadecimal black is 6 zeros. And finally, we want to do the background. But one thing I want to mention is Now the background image is going to repeat horizontally, and it actually ends, it probably ends around here. So what we want to do is we want to make the actual color, the background color of body to this blue. If not, the image will end here and everything below it would be white or whatever the standard, the default color. So we're going to give it a background color, and that color is, one second, that blue color is this. And then finally we want the background image. And how you do an image is you do URL and then curly braces, not curly braces, sorry, just regular parentheses. Now we want to go to our images. Right now we're in our CSS folder because we're in our CSS sheet. So we want to go out to the directory before it by using the // and then in the images folder, and it was called background, I think it was background.png. Close those. That's every CSS style ends with a semicolon. Just don't forget that. Alright, so I'm going to save this. I'm going to go over here, reload, and you'll see we have our image. Now, oh, I'm sorry, we have to repeat it horizontally, and this is it's kind of strange, but if you don't add a repeat on a background image, it'll repeat both ways. It'll repeat horizontally and vertically, and that's what it's doing here because we forgot to actually specify which way we want to repeat. So what we want to do is add a background repeat, and we only want it to go horizontally, so we'll do background repeat, and we're going to say repeat X. X is horizontal, Y is vertical. Or we could just have repeat and then have it do both like it is now. So I'm going to save that and reload, and now you'll see it doesn't repeat vertically, it does repeat horizontally. Now you might notice this space here, this blue, this is actually going to be the navigation bar, so that's why the gradient isn't there. That slim 1 pixel image that I showed you, it leaves this area for the navigation. So what I'd like to do now is step away from the style sheet for a moment and just add some div tags and span tags and just separate out the things that we plan on styling. So we're going to go back to index.html, and we're also going to look at the final product just to go by. And let's see, I think the first thing I want to add is a container div, and a container div would be everything. We want everything wrapped up in this container div, and this will give us our width. We can make the width and some other properties of the page. So right directly under body, we want to add a div. We want to do a div ID of container. Now we want to scroll all the way down because it's right after the body tag, so the closing div should be right before the body tag. And like I said in earlier tutorials, I like to mark the ending, so I'll just say container end, just so we know that this particular closing div goes with the container. Now if I save this and reload, we're not going to see any difference because all we're doing here is attaching divisions, div tags. And the next thing I want to do is create a header div. In the header div, I just want this. I want the logo and the slogan. So directly into that, let's do a div ID of header, and we want this div to be closed right after the slogan. And this will be header end. Alright, and I want to keep this clean, so I'm going to do some indentation. Alright, so now we have the container div, the header div. The next thing I want to do is the menu div. So let's do div ID menu, and this is the menu. It's an unordered list. Let's do some indentation, and whoop. Okay, so now we have the menu div, which is this bar. Whoops, sorry about that. Alright, so we get the menu now, and that's the main menu. Now I want to do this, which I'm going to call the left menu. Actually, let me label this first. So you'll see this H3 with links, which is this here, and this is the entire menu. So we're just going to wrap that up. We're going to wrap that up, and we're going to call it left menu. Let's close that div. Comment left menu end. Alright, just going to indent this a little bit. It's always good to have proper indentation and just good formatting of your code, especially if someone else is going to read it and work on it. It's good to label the ending divs and or whatever. Okay, so the next thing I'd say would be this, the main content area. What I'm going to do is this is going to be a content div, and this is going to be another content div, because you'll see they're in separate blocks. So I'm just going to separate them into two different divs. So let's say content, and I want this to end after this right here, ASP. Alright, it ends there. Alright, so we'll close the div here. Now I'll just label that content 1 end, and let's indent it. Okay, we should actually put spaces after each division, just for better readability. Okay, now we have latest blue developers, which is all this here. So I'm going to do another div of content, and we want to end that right here. So I'll just say content 2 end. Okay. Alright, so that looks good. Now, I mean, we can save it, we can look at it, but there's no difference. We haven't done anything with the divs yet. So, actually, one more thing I want to do, one more set of divs I want to do is around each of these developers, properties, location, and whatever. I want each one to be a div, but I want it to be a class. So right here I'm going to do div class. I'm just going to call it developer. So each developer will have its own class. Let me just indent these. Okay. I'll just say developer end. Alright, so you'll see Adam Sullivan. Well, actually, see what I did? I had that H2 within the developer. I don't want that. I want that out of that div. So, alright, so now you'll see Adam Sullivan, and all his information is in this div, this class called developer. So I want to do it to the rest of the next three as well. So I'll just copy this. Rick Monroe, and these are all fake, just made up developers. I can space this out a little. Close that div. Okay, one more. Just copy that. Alright, so now you'll see each section, each developer has its own class called developer. So we can style that class, and whatever we style is going to happen to all four of these. So I think that's it for separating everything on our home page. Oh, one thing I do want to do is, you'll notice the logo here, the word blue is blue, and in the slogan, the find a developer is a light blue. So we need to separate those out, those words. Now we can't use a div tag, because remember, a div tag is a block level element. So if we put this blue in a div, developer directory would then go on a new line. So this is a perfect example of where we need to use a span tag, because span tags are in line. So if we go to this is the H1 right here, this is this. What I want to do is put a span around just the word blue. Yeah, just the word blue. I want to put a span. And then in the slogan, find a developer now, we want to put we actually want to put the span around now. Now I wasn't going to actually do any kind of actually, you know what? Yeah, let's take this span and let's give it a class of blue text. So this is not something that's going to happen right now. It's not going to be blue now. We have to define this class in our CSS style sheet, which we will do. And I also want to give this now a class of white text. Alright, so that looks good. Looks like we have all our div tags, all our IDs and classes set. You know, you can't see much yet because we haven't done any styling, but we have all our markup in place, and in the next section we're going to be doing some styling. Make this all come together.